clause 7 has several subclauses.
Imagine in your organization you still go with the documentation flow. So if there's a changes, so all document has to be aligned with that.
Resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information.
Resource covers everything from personnel to infrastructure. Organization must ensure their teams has necessary skills, education and training.
Could you share an example where clause 7 made a significant difference for an organization? Hello everyone, I'm Harshan from Halcyon Private Limited. Today we are here with another video and we'll be talking about clause 7, support of ISO 9001. Joining me is our quality management expert, Rasitha. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Hello Mr. Rasitha, welcome back. Hope you're doing good. Today we'll be talking about clause 7 support. So without wasting time, let's get straight into it.
Good to be back, Harshan, again. This will be a very crucial aspect, clause number 7. So let's start this.
So clause 7 focuses on support, ensuring organizations have the necessary resources, competence, communication, and documentation. So, Mr. Rasitha, could you explain why this clause is a very vital one for achieving the quality objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you need support, right, to do some activities because there should be adequate resource. So that resource can be maybe competent person or maybe like effective communication or maybe like some sort of documentation. And then if you like for example, if you set quality objective, the previously we discussed particular organization we need to improve the communication. So when you started to improve the communication part, sometimes you might need to go for a software. See, imagine in your organization you still go with the documentation flow. So if there's a changes, so all document has to be aligned with that. But if you decided, okay, let's get into the kind of a system software. So whenever changes are there, the relevant people can online instantly they can view the changes. So that of course you need to include the budget. That of course you need to create a kind of a resource allocation. So that will be planning part. So this element number 6, 7, we're actually talking about that part.
So as discussed, clause 7 has several subclauses, including resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. So to begin with, let's start with 7.1, resources. How should organizations approach this?
Yeah, resource covers everything from personnel to infrastructure, or maybe monitoring too. Like I said, you have a transport fleet and you have to provide the best service for your customer. So maybe you need to identify the GPS tracking. So that's a kind of resource monitoring tool. So that is you need to purchase. So I'm purchasing anyway. You have to include the budget. So that planning has to be there, right? Or maybe you think of improving the communication skills. So that of course you need to get a training program. So you need to identify a trainer. So organization can decide, okay, are we going to hire in-house trainer or are you going to outsource? So that includes that part. So any organization, when you plan out the resource, it could be infrastructure or maybe competent people. Sometimes some organization high tech requirements are there. So you might need to bring down people from overseas. So this include a lot of budget, everything. So under resource allocation, we need to plan everything because this is linked with your objective, KPIs and action plan. So when you develop action plan, when you develop objectives, there should be a resources which is required to be provided by the top management. So those things you need to identify under element number 7.
Moving on to competence and awareness. What's the key takeaway for businesses?
Yeah, for competencies, organization must ensure their teams has necessary skills, education and training to perform their role effectively. Like say, I'll take some example. If it is a salesperson, he might have to have a certain personal, interpersonal skills. Maybe not that much of education qualification. Maybe good to have, but then he should have experience, the training. Those trainings cannot be the theoretical training. Those are practical training program. So and in the other hand, if you consider a person engineer or a chemist, so their skill levels, then they need to have a certain education background, right, to perform sign off certain activities. So depend on the organization, we need to have like skills education training, and then sometimes you might hire a person with the low skill low education level, but then you need to have a like proper plan proper path for them to perform, like skill metrics skill evaluation has to be there. And then mainly training is pretty much focusing on like communicating organization structure strategy, and then like depend on the organization level, like hierarchy, maybe operational level like operation procedures, and then like maybe troubleshooting mechanism. So those things has to be part of the training program. So this should inline, like when you identify the skill level skill gaps, so I'm like using training program, you should be able to cover up these skill gaps. So this is very important element in the organization.
That's a really good point. So let's talk about communication. Why is it such a critical element of support?
Effective communication ensure that everyone is on the same page. Maybe it could be internal, it could be external. Like there are classic example. Like if you analyze most of the problem organization face, say maybe 50 plus, 60 plus percent of the problems are actually due to lack of communication or gaps between the communication. So best option is to have a like proper communication system. Like I took one example previously also, right, about the change management. So if you have everything in a documented flow, I mean, like, I'm not going to say you have to convert everything, all the document into soft copies. But right now, the technology is very available, and it's not that expensive also. I'd say your communication channel, if you convert into a software, so like soft copies. So if I'm a marketing person, if I do the changes, I'll do the changes immediately, and then the operational person can view immediately, because I'll basically remove all the like obsolete document. But if it is a like hard copy system, so if there's a change, I have to get through the approval and then send it to for that particular file, and then I have to make sure that file is removed. So the chances are less that file is like having a correct communication mechanism, maybe specification. So that's why like effective communication is very important. And then right now we can use like the new technology. Most of the organization they have a chat system, but only thing is like retention, right? Because if you have a chat, if everybody is in the particular chat, so that's easy. So what we can do is like with this communication, we need to identify the relevant tools which is applicable for your organization, and then use in an effective way. So that will make sure like you are maintaining all communication channel open, and then finally your customer is quite happy.
I think we can finally move on to documented information. Many see it as just paperwork. There's more to it, right?
Right. This documented information is very crucial. Like previously, before this 9000 or 2015 standard, previously people had a meet like when somebody said ISO, they think or like look a lot of documentation paperwork, and then of course yes, like everything is in a paper. You have so many files. Like when the auditors comes, like you have to show all the files, right? So that is like another scenario. So people like it's a kind of a negative impact as well. But now documented information mean like all soft copies is part of the document. It's controlled document. So when you have a document hard copy, like you have to have a header, footer, approval, revision number, what are the information you need, all these things has to be there. So organization has to be smart enough to collect all the raw data in a kind of hard copy, and then this raw data is very important because it's a traceability. Because without having a documented system, you can't prove the traceability. That's a core function of this ISO standards, right? So you have to make sure your raw data is available, and then maybe you can convert everything into soft copies, and then retrieval time, and then like retention, like no changes. All these things can be part of the document control. So right now we are having organization like even us, we are also certified by ISO. We don't have a single document unless like attendance sheets, so drivers basic information, travel sheets. Other than that, everything will be part of the soft copy. So you can develop your own document control system, but in line with the standard requirements. So this is very crucial, because without this documented information, you can't prove the traceability, you can't prove the evidence which you are maintaining the management system. So this is very crucial part.
Thank you. So, could you share an example where Clause 7 made a significant difference for an organization?
Right. Okay. I'll take example of internal communication using our organization. So our organization, initially we were very much focusing on the consultancy part. So very straightforward. But then later on we diversify. Extended supply chain. We run the lab right now, and then there are overseas projects started to work on different areas South Asia and Middle East. So it started to get bigger and complicated. So the internal communication is very important. And then all of us work from home, remotely we work at different location. So then we felt there's no connection between some departments, especially marketing, finance, operation. These three departments started to work isolation. So what we did was we did a change management mechanism, and then we identify a particular day and everybody should come to the office, and then who overseas they log on online. But we allocate and then we discuss against the agenda. So the marketing will introduce new projects with the understanding about the customer, so there's no gap. And the same time, finance will discuss about the financial matters and everything, and then operation team discuss. So then this is a kind of nice communication platform. So and then we were practicing this now for quite some time. Somebody might say, okay, you are spending time on this particular meeting. Of course, yes, but the outcome we are getting is massive. So we want to maintain that. So this what we try to do is it's a department wise organization we try to bring together, and then based on one particular agenda we try to discuss. So this is one particular area we change our communication mechanism.
That's a very powerful example. So, Rasitha, Clause 7 truly emphasizes on the importance of strong support systems. Do you have any final advice for our viewers?
See, this is Clause 7. People don't put a lot of effort, but this is very important. One is when you develop the action plan, you need resource, you need budget, you need allocation, right? So that part you can discuss under Clause number 7. So your entire project success is pretty much depend on that part, and then the communication and the competency part, internal communication, because it's changing. See, when you work in a different country, the communication mechanism is changing. Some might use WhatsApp, some might use email, right? So this you need to adapt this. So this is understanding and then adapt your communication part. And then the moment you identify there's a gap, how you're going to correct it, that's very important part. And then getting a correct proper team, competent team, depend on the skill, depend on the experience and the qualification. That's crucial for organization success. So element 7 talk about that part. This is very important for organizational development. I think we discussed totally different areas under element number 7. So I think I try to give my experience and some example. So Harshan, thank you for having me for this program, and then see you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Rasitha, for taking your time to share your knowledge and expertise with us. I hope you had a great time. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.